Welcome, 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 and good morning if you are watching on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. I am Micah Logan, founder and CEO of Meld Fitness and Wellness, CEO of Hush Frame, and I wanted to talk about today this concept of quiet quitting. Now, I have heard of many interesting concepts in the workplace over the years, and quiet quitting is an interesting um, turn of phrase for an interesting behavior that exists in the workplace today. If you've never heard of the term quiet quitting, then what I'm going to do today is I'm going to introduce you to the term quiet quitting, which is floating around um, out there. And as a business owner or even as an employee, you should be aware of what quiet quitting actually is. So let's talk about just the genesis of the term quiet quitting, kind of where it came from. Well, there was a TikToker that had about 48,000, 50,000 followers who posted about the trend of quiet quitting on his TikTok account about a week or so ago, maybe just over a week. And one of the things that he said in that TikTok video is, I don't stress and eternally rip myself to shreds. When it comes to working, I quiet quit. So people have different feelings about this. Of course, people who are in management have a different feeling than people who are, obviously employees who are maybe feeling the sentiments of someone who wants to do something like quiet quit, but they don't really know kind of how to do it. But at the end of the day, I think it's important for us to understand the concept of quiet quitting, what it means in the workplace, how it affects the business, other employees, and the individual themselves. And of course, the managers who are dealing with employees. So let's first define the term quiet quitting and what that term actually means. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the definition now for quiet quitting. So one second, here it is. All right. Okay, so right here we see the definition for the term quiet quitting is essentially means setting boundaries and not taking on additional work for others. It just means not going above and beyond at work. And however, most people agree that it does not mean leaving your job. Instead, they believe it includes doing your job only during contracted hours or during employment hours, but not taking on extra work because that's how you get burnt out or taken advantage of. This is the individual who talked about quiet quitting in her video. This woman was a teacher. She said that she didn't volunteer for committees. She didn't stay late. She didn't do extra. She literally just taught her classes. She literally just did exactly the bare bones part of work, and then she left for the day. So when it comes to quiet quitting, part of the philosophy behind it is that if you are quiet quitting, you're doing just what's expected of you, and that's it. And then you're not going to do any more than that. So I have a couple of thoughts on this. First and foremost, I tend to be a person who likes to push myself to the best of my abilities in whatever I do, whether it's in business, in life, hobbies, work, whatever the case is. And so quiet quitting is, although it doesn't seem extreme in the sense that a person would just do their job and then leave, it does seem extreme in the sense that a person is consciously not doing their best. Now, the real issue probably with this concept is probably the words that are used to define the actions that actually take place, or in this case, the lack of actions that take place. And so I think what's happening is that people are seeing the words quit and quiet quit and think that people are slinking away doing something deceptive. And then I think that the person who's involved in the quiet quitting, for them, is like, well, I'm not being deceptive, but I'm not going to try my hardest. So this kind of sentiment tugs on two parts of me. My head says that is there anything wrong? My head asks the question, is there anything wrong with the person coming in to do the work and just doing the exact job that they were hired for, given that those are the terms that they were actually hired for in the workplace and, to do. And my head says that logically, there's nothing technically wrong with just doing exactly what you were hired to do and doing no more. But then there's that other part of me, the instinct part of me, the gut part of me, the part of me that says that you should always do your best no matter what. And if there's a chance that you can go above and beyond in your workplace, it's not about demonstrating just how valuable you are in the workplace. It's about also making sure that you yourself do your best in the job and are satisfied with the result of your effort. And what quiet quitting seems like to me is individuals who are actually resigned to be just regular and mediocre. Unfortunately, there's nothing inside people who have pushed for greatness, in my opinion, that are resigned to do the average of whatever they're doing. I think that there's a segment of people out there, and it's probably maybe most of the people who are in the workplace or in general, who don't mind just being the regular and average at what they do, which is fine. I think that there's another part of it, though, which is that if you have the opportunity to be elite in what you do, you should do it. You should be elite, and you shouldn't make sacrifices, or you shouldn't, try to subjugate yourself to an average, mediocre kind of way of delivering results at your workplace. Every time you step in the office, you should want to kill it. And that, if that means maybe staying an extra hour to finish a project instead of leaving it for the next day, I believe that's kind of what you do. And it's not about, I think that if a person thinks that quiet quitting or doing just average kinds of work is about their boss and not about themselves, I think they're fooling themselves. I think the conversation is a little different. It should be a little different. Oftentimes, I read a Harvard Business Review article. It was a white paper on the concept of quiet quitting. And one of the main titles to that white paper were, quiet quitting is not about employees, it's about the bosses. And that to me is, I don't know, it's non sequitur. I don't think it's actually, I don't agree with that title. I don't agree with that sentiment. I believe that we have this thought that other people are going to judge that employee for quiet quitting. But what about how the employee feels about themselves? To me, it's about effort. It's about doing your best because you should do your best, or you should be the best version of yourself, not because of any expectation that anyone else has. The bare minimum is reserved for people who like to, frankly, just want to be average. And it's okay. Average exists for a reason. In that whole, in the whole spectrum of super talented, super aggressive working and slackers, the people who just do their job mostly fit into the middle. And that's fine to be in the 50th percentile at work. It's absolutely fine. You're not going to stand out, and maybe your goal is not to stand out. That's fine. But the results, on the other side of that, the results of being And that 50th percentile means that you're going to get lost in a crowd. You're not going to be memorable. People might never really know you as anything but the person that they see walking back and forth to the coffee machine. And if you're okay with that, you should be okay with that. I think that if you're going to go all in on quiet quitting, and you're just going to want to be average, then you should. But if you're looking to actually be there's a saying that I use in business: you can't be the best and the cheapest at the same time. You can't be the best employee and the one who's just doing just enough at the same time. Maybe you're good at your job, but the best employees, do they do the most? Not necessarily, but they perform to do the most. They perform the best, and they're willing to do the most. Not necessarily to be better than everyone else, but because they're trying to push themselves in their capacity. When you were in school, did you just want to learn just enough, or were you interested in actually learning to understand so that you can use the knowledge and information that you acquired to actually implement it in your life? And I get it. In middle and high school, it was probably the first one, which is you're just kind of learning enough. But as you get older, to be proficient, I think is important. Has it been lost on me that the concept of excellence is under attack more so nowadays than ever before? I think so on some levels. But excellence, in my opinion, is about more than just producing excellent work. It's about being an excellent person with excellent mentality. And here's the other piece of it. If you're at work and you have coworkers, each one relying on the other to be a cornerstone of their project or their workload or whatever, and each one relying on the other one to pull their weight. Well, the reality for me is that, we should all be, hey, Kika, what's up? You want to join? Send me a request to join. I'll bring you in. To me, the fact of the matter is that if we are only doing just what's expected of us, and we're not willing to take on bigger things that help other people at work, then you may be leaving your coworkers out to dry when it comes to actually the work that needs to get done. And people who work with you may start to resent you for just taking just your load. There's a little bit of oh, that's all right. That's right. I'm a CEO and I got basketball shorts on right now myself too. So yeah, but if you're ready to join, you should come in. So when you're ready, get dressed. So in my opinion, when a person is undertaking the concept of just doing enough, then they really have to think about how that's going to affect their coworkers. Are their coworkers going to resent them for just doing enough? Are their coworkers going to resent them when they're the ones putting in a great effort and they're not? So if you're willing to just do enough for yourself, then you're typically only thinking about yourself. And nowadays, the concept of only thinking about yourself has become pervasive, and I get it. People are thinking about themselves more so now than ever before, because they're like, if I don't think about me, who's going to think about me? Fair enough. But at the end of the day, there's other people who rely on you to get your work done. And if everyone pulls in the same direction, then you all are becoming better versions of yourself. So I think that adopting a quiet quitting attitude is also adopting an attitude of someone who's not willing to cross over boundaries and to push themselves. And some can make a counter argument that quiet quitting is about really not putting out efforts that you don't believe that other people deserve, and not, why should I fry myself out for this company or a manager who doesn't seem to appreciate it? And to me, it's not about other people. Working and being great has never been about what other people think about me, what other people feel about me. Working and being great is about you. It's not about other people. And so if you make every decision that you make on how other people are going to view the task or the assignment that you are currently engaged in, then in my opinion, you're making a critical mistake. Your desire to actually work and to be satisfied with how you work should be closely linked to your confidence and your self confidence in yourself and what you're looking to actually get done. As a CEO, what I look for in employees who are actually going to be successful with one of the businesses that I'm running is the ability to actually look and engage in the work with a different view, with a different lens. That requires you to sometimes do things that are outside of your job description. As an example, we're all working to make the company better. And if an employee has ways where that can happen, because from their perspective, they're seeing things slightly differently. And how can we deliver differently in this particular segment? Like, what can we do to ensure that we are successful on the employee level and in the implementation level or manufacturing or whatever type of company that you're employed at? It requires you stepping out of what you do on a day-to-day basis to actually think that way. And if you have a manager or an owner of a company who looks at the job in a way that critically, like they're trying to improve every aspect of it, they should take your feedback and be welcome. If they choose not to take your feedback, or they just kind of, put it in the to think about pile, you shouldn't take that as a reflection of you not being worthy. That is an internal reflection of whoever is managing you. And I get it. It can be frustrating, but we should never resign ourselves to just becoming average because we think that being average is, or not burning ourselves out or putting an extra effort in, is the way that we can save ourselves from what? What are you saving yourself for? Because if you're not engaged in something in addition to what you're already doing, then you're kind of just not burning yourself out for the sake of, or not just putting in extra effort for the sake of what exactly. There should always be, in my opinion, there should always be an answer to the question of, why did you decide to think, say, or do this? And there should be a reason why you think, say, or do this. There shouldn't just be a decision to, for instance, quiet quit, become average because you don't want to put the effort out there. There should be a reason why you decided to step back from doing all the things that are causing you additional stress. It's not in my job description. Is there anything more? Okay, think about this. Is there anything more frustrating? And maybe you've been in let's call it a grocery store or Home Depot or something. You walk in, you're looking for something specific, and we've always, all of us, maybe at least once, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us have come up against that one employee that just points you in the direction of whatever it is that you are looking to actually get without giving you further instructions. And then you walk off to try to go find that product that you came to the store for, and you're even more lost because the person just pointed you in that direction. And that moment, that person has quietly quit on their job. They didn't tell you no. They didn't tell you that we didn't have it, but they didn't also walk you over there and show you the product, knowing that they knew exactly where it was. So is it wrong to quiet quit? Well, they did show you where the product was. They did direct you in the area. They weren't mean about it or being a jerk about it. But that little extra effort in that moment would have left you with the satisfaction of having known exactly where it is as a customer. And as an employee, you get the satisfaction of knowing that you actually help someone tangibly find exactly what they were looking for. And maybe this has just come down to the fact that people don't enjoy completely where they are and what they're doing. So what does that mean? That's a decision, I think, personally, for an employee to make prior to them accepting a job position. I think way too much today, we people accept employment opportunities or business opportunities that they're not exactly aligned for. And then they go into it and it's way too much, not what they like, and then they want to peel out and they don't want to do it. Well, a little bit of responsibility would have you ask a few different questions prior to even joining to see kind of how that job align with your life. Because if it truly is about lifestyle and not burning out, then asking good questions prior to entering into the job during the interview phase would save you and the employer so much time. Believe me, as a CEO, I can tell you that I would prefer not to hire someone in a position that I believed are just going to put an average amount of effort into and waste time training and putting them through the onboarding than the person would going through that process feeling like they've wasted time because they chose the wrong job. It's a mutual feeling at that point. And why should either the company or the person feel that way? When we have free market and the ability to go out and find whatever employment you want, why should either the company or the employee feel like they're stuck in a comfortable but loveless relationship? So, what are my thoughts on quiet quitting? I just told you. I think that it's important for us to always try our best, regardless. That is a personal philosophy of mine. I personally believe that we owe it in general to ourselves and to the other people around us to do 100% of what we can to make things successful. So the CNBC article that came out about it, I wanted to share a few points that I thought were actually pretty good. So I'm going to show you here what it says. All right. So here's an example. Jaya Das, Randstad's managing director for Singapore and Malaysia. Quiet quitting is a residual impact of COVID-19 and the Great Resignation, where employees felt empowered to take control of their work and personal life. So, fair enough. Employees did gain back some power during the, quote, Great Resignation, end quote, because they felt like they wanted to have a little more say in the workplace. She said that what used to be a passive-aggressive challenge of work-life balance is now becoming a very direct request. She said, it's not a request anymore, it's a demand. Kelly Watt, a career coach, agreed and said, quiet quitting is now a way for workers to stick it to companies who see them as another cog in the machine. So another thing I will say from the business side is that employers need to start changing their mindset on how they actually deal with their employees. A lot more employees, especially nowadays, want to be treated valuably in the workplace and be made to feel like they actually have some sort of, say in the workplace, and and that they have some ownership over task. But that comes from a management style and a corporate value that values employee ownership over task and assignments. And that comes from leadership. Now, I have that personal feeling, but I understand that most companies don't necessarily do. The article goes on to talk about when quiet quitting actually backfires. So, quiet quitting removes any emotional investment you might have from your work, which is sad given that the fact that most of us spend so much time at our work, said Watt. This is, I don't see the name here. He said, most of us want to be proud of the work we do and the contributions we make. We want to see our impact and feel good about it. Quiet quitting doesn't allow for that. She added that it is impossible. It is possible to maintain healthy boundaries and remain emotionally invested at work. So, from the employee perspective, there is some mental you get something mentally and emotionally from engaging in good work. When you work positively at work, you feel comfort. You feel relaxed. You feel accomplished. And that sense of accomplishment after a hard day's work should not just be overlooked. She continues, an employee that shows up every day, goes through the motions, turns down certain projects due to lack of interest, and has no desire to advance in their current career or develop skills is very different to a case of work-life balance. He added that quiet quitting could be a positive trend if workers focus on maximizing the hours at the office. The only problem, the trend isn't reflecting this mentality at the moment. I think that's a very important and interesting statement. If quiet quitting was about just not a lackluster effort or an average effort, but about actually putting in crazy effort during those 8 hours that you're working so that you're just maximizing your time so you don't have to bring project home, that would be one thing. But the thought conveyed here is making people feel entitled about just taking back doing anything extra other than moving their fingers around at the desk. The problem is that can have potentially damaging psychological effects, I think, on the worker themselves, because they can start to feel like they are not pushing as hard. And when we feel a lack of satisfaction, it goes into more than just our work parts of life. It goes into other parts of life, and you may start quiet quitting on other things in your life as well. You can't just switch on and switch off things like motivation in life, depending on what's going on. Oftentimes, when a person feels unmotivated in life, that lack of motivation affects work, personal lives, personal emotions, and other people in our life. But when a person feels motivated, it affects our work life, it affects our personal life, and the people in both of those arenas of our life. So yeah, it does have effects on other things that we do outside of just work. I think we have to think about it in a way that actually moves the needle. And quiet quitting, my friends, does not move the needle. So the bottom line for me on this subject is this: quiet quitting is not a way to drive a person to great success. Personally, I don't think it's going to make a person feel accomplished. I don't think it's going to make you feel. So despite the thought conveyed that this is for work-life balance, I don't think it's going to make a person feel more balanced. If anything, I think it's going to affect their motivation in other areas of their life, and that could have damaging effects as a result, psychologically and motivationally. So, anyways, thank you for coming to my TED Talk today about quiet quitting. I look forward to talking to you again. Remember, if you don't go to work building your dream, then you're going to go to work building the dream of someone else. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.